Okay, so it's shortly past 10 o'clock. I welcome you all to our Star Campus webinar, How Do I Create My Own Dictionary? Tips and Tricks for Your First TermStar Dictionary. And thank you for your interest in Transit TermStar Next. My name is Kerstin Fröse. I work for Star Language Technology and Solutions in Sindelfingen, Germany, in the areas support, training and consulting for TermStar and Transit Next. Star Language Technology and Solutions, or short Star LTS, belongs to the Star Group, which has its headquarters in Ramsen in Switzerland. The Star Group has 51 offices in approximately 30 countries. Translation services, software development, technical documentation, information management, and lots of other topics are part of our portfolio. This webinar aims at giving you an introduction to working with our terminology tool, TermStar Next. Our topics are the following: user interface of Transit and TermStar Next, database and dictionary structures. I'm going to show you how they're all organized. I'm also going to create a database with a dictionary with a few clicks. And this dictionary is empty at first. I'm going to fill it with terminology by importing a simple Microsoft Excel table. After that, I'm going to enter terminology into the dictionary manually and edit this terminology. Finally, I'm going to conduct several searches in our terminology. Now, a few words as to the interaction of Transit Next and TermStar Next. When you have bought a Transit license, you already have got TermStar with it. After installation of Transit, you have both programs. TermStar is integrated in Transit. In addition to that, Transit has been separately installed as a program on its own. You have two different icons for Transit and TermStar on your desktop. However, you can get TermStar as standalone program. Its functionality is identical, but then you'll only see the menus that are relevant for TermStar. Today, I'm going to show you TermStar in Transit because this is the most common case. So let's change to Transit and TermStar. You probably have all seen the user interface already. We have the ribbon here with the different tabs, and those tabs are organized in groups. Then down at the bottom you have the resource bar with the resource buttons, and we are going to have a closer look at one of those buttons today, and that's dictionaries. Oh, sorry, I should have changed this into English, and I was going to, but it didn't work, obviously. So, excuse me for a minute. I'm going to change the user interface to English. Okay. And there we are. Okay. Now this makes more sense for a webinar in English. We now have our user interface in English, and this should, of course, be the button Dictionaries. Okay. Then you also have the quick access toolbar, which is here, and which you can organize and customize according to your needs. You can put all the buttons there that you need every day in order to work with Transit and TermStar. And as you've just seen, because I had to go there, this is the Transit menu with the user preferences. In the middle, we have our main window with the language pair, and there we find everything in green that's to do with the source language, and everything in red that's got to do with the target language. If you change from Transit to TermStar, which I'm going to do now because I'm going to jump into this tab with TermStar project dictionaries, you can see that the ribbon changes. There are fewer tabs for TermStar than there are for Transit. I'm going to change back to Transit. And TermStar. Here you only have the tabs that you need in TermStar, and you also in TermStar, as in Transit, you have views. There are default views that are integrated in the program, which you can see here. There's a menu with lots of different integrated views. And it is also possible to customize this and to change this, as well as the window set. Here you can see there are certain integrated window sets, and you can also customize those. If you want to save your own views in this tab and your own window sets in this tab, you can create your own role. The so-called user roles are here on the resource bar. It's one of the buttons on the resource bar. And there you can choose between the standard user roles, and of course you can define your own roles. Today we're going to work with terminology, so I'm going to choose the role terminologist, and now we'll see that the view changes now for the role of terminologist. A terminologist is of course someone who has to deal a lot with terminology, has to work deeply, go deeply into the topic, and so it makes sense that the view all fields is linked to this role. Today we're not going to use the view all fields, but we're going to use simple instead, because we're going to look at the basics. Okay. Now it's time to change back to PowerPoint, and we're going to have a look at the organization of databases and dictionaries. In TermStar, dictionaries are organized in databases, and databases may contain one or more dictionaries. It's like a bookshelf. The database is like the shelf, and the dictionaries are the books on the shelf. There can be one, and of course there can be several. In general, if you want to store similar pieces of information in a well-structured way, you use a DBMS, a database management system. For TermStar, we haven't implemented our own DBMS, but instead we use existing ones. TermStar supports the following well-known systems: DB2, MS SQL, Oracle, MySQL, and for translators, MS Access is integrated into each Transit or TermStar license. The databases in MS Access have the suffix MDB. You can see here. This is the database called Training Next, and the suffix is MDB. Dictionaries without databases don't exist in TermStar. Now, as to the data structure, every data record contains several fields. We have the header fields, where information about the whole data record is stored. This could concern project or status, graphics, etc. Then we have the language field, or fields, where there's information about the language, and then there can be customized information and several more fields. We also have the entry. This is the basic thing of one data record. You need one entry for the data record to exist. The term. And there are also more fields like part of speech, grammatical info, phonetical info, and lots more. And for every entry you can have, you don't need to, but you can have one or several sub-entries, like synonym or abbreviation. And for each sub-entry, again, we have several fields that belong to it that can be filled in. Here are some header fields listed. The header fields are used for managing the whole data record. And as you can see here, some of the fields are filled in automatically. Those fields have a cross here. And these are data record number, dictionary, so the name of the dictionary that the entry belongs to, and who created the entry, when it was created, and when it was last changed. And the other fields can be filled in manually, but they don't all have to be filled in. Then we have language entry fields. There are also some, or here's one field that's filled in automatically, and that's the language to which this entry belongs. And there are fields like multimedia, or then fields that can be customized, like info 1 or info 2. And as I mentioned, we have several sub-entry types, like abbreviation, alternative, irregular form, synonym, and several more. And we're going to have a look at some of them in TermStar later on. Again, there are some fields that are filled in automatically, like entry ID or created or changed by or on. And there are many more fields. As we saw earlier, when we choose the view all fields, you can see them all, and there's really a lot that can be filled in. A lot of information belonging to one entry. So now we're going to have a look at TermStar again, and we're going to work with TermStar and create our own dictionary. Now there's this project where there's already a project dictionary, but we are going to create a new one. So we need this field down here, this button, dictionaries, on the resource bar. And for this, we want to, into this dictionary that we're going to create, we want to import an Excel table. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to open this Excel table. It's called Body Next. And here you can see, we're going to have a look at this on the PowerPoint again later on. But here, this is the real thing. This is our Excel table, and it's organized in 4 columns. The first column is the English term. Then we have a definition, also in English. We have the German term, and then finally we have a column with a Japanese term. So 4 columns that we all want to import into our dictionary. Now, in order to be able to do this, we need to save it in another format. And this is what I'm going to do now. We need the format Unicode text, because this can be imported into TermStar. I'm going to save it. Okay. And yes, I want to save it. And now I'm going to close it. And I haven't changed the file, so I don't need to save anything again. So now I can create my dictionary, and I'm going to choose Dictionaries Databases, Create New Dictionary Database. Right, let's have this window a bit more in the center. Now here you can choose whether you want to create a TermStar dictionary within an existing database or create a new database. And I'm going to create a new database on MS Access. Okay, our database file. When I browse, I get into the Transit Next folder DB, which of course stands for database. And here we can see the databases that are in the folder that are delivered by default. You have TermStar Next, TermStar Next Check, and TermStar Next Received. Now we want to create a new Access database, and we are going to call it Webinar. I'm going to save this. Okay. And now it exists. Now we need to give a name to the ODBC connection, the Open Database Connectivity connection, and as we can see, the name of the database is already suggested here. This means that this is, so to say, the key to the database. Transit can access the database via this connection, via this ODBC connection. And here we can also choose a so-called DSN type. DSN means data source name. And there we have 4 possibilities. We can either choose a user or system DSN. The information about this database is then stored in Windows, or we can choose file DSN under a global scope or user scope. And now this is in the transit world, so to say. Again, if we choose file DSN global scope, the information about the database is written into a file that can be found in a folder in transit, in the global, under a global folder, and for user it will be in the user folder. I'm going to choose global scope and say continue. Now we need to give a name to the new dictionary that we're just going to create, and I call it body because that's the topic of the Excel list that we have already seen, the topic of our dictionary. And now I can finish the whole process, and TermStar tells me that the dictionary has been created successfully. Okay. Now, as we know, the dictionary is empty still. And now I'm going to import the file that I just saved in the Unicode text format into my dictionary. So now I need the resource button dictionaries again, and now I need import terminology. There are several formats that can be imported into TermStar dictionaries, like MATIF, TBX, TMX, and I want now customized format. I know where my file is. It's on the desktop in the webinar data folder, and it's this txt file. So I can open it here, and I'm going to put this in the center again. Now we need a so-called import definition. We see that there are some here that already exist, but every import definition needs to exactly show the structure of the file that we're going to import. So I'm going to define a new one that exactly matches my data. Okay, this takes a while. Okay, and there we now get the window import file layout, and we want the table layout with unique field positions. Oh, excuse me, with a unique field separator. And here you can see the examples. Excel is an example of this, that you have a unique field separator. This means one line in the file is one data record. And for the field separator, we choose tab. Okay, we go on. And we want to tell TermStar that fields whose text contains the column delimiter are prefixed and suffixed by delimiter characters. So we need these quotation marks. Okay, they're already chosen. And that's what we want now. This means column delimiters must always be unique, and if a column delimiter is also used within a field as a normal character, so if you type it in, if it's in the text, it must be identified by a preceding special character. And if a column delimiter character is used in a file both as a column delimiter and as a normal character, and no prefixed special character is used, the field data in the imported dictionary may be transposed by one field. This only means you then don't get the content of the fields into the correct fields where you want to have them. So we want to be on the safe side and say, okay, we want delimiter characters. We continue, and now we have to tell TermStar the sequence of the languages and of the fields that are in our file, in our import file. And we've seen at first there's English. The first two columns are English. So here I just click on the E on my keyboard, and then TermStar jumps to the first language that starts with E. This is English. And we just need the term now. And I press select here. So now this is the start of our import sequence. It starts with English term. And we also we saw that the second column contains the English definition. Now we go back. Now we need German. Oh, no, we need to go here and click on German. Okay. German is not the first language with G. Here it is. We need the entry, the term, and we select it. And the fourth column that we saw was Japanese. Japanese is the first language that starts with J, so TermStar jumped to it when I pressed J on my keyboard, and I select Japanese term. Now this should match the structure of the Unicode text file that we have now, and if you do this and you realize that you haven't chosen the right order of languages and fields, you can move them up and down with these buttons here, or you can just click on one of the fields and remove it from the list again. But this of course is what we want. So I click on continue. Our file doesn't contain a date format, so we skip the date format. We can see here the summary of all that we've chosen. And now we just need to give the import definition a name. This could be webinar again, or another telling name. You can also add to the name the languages that are contained: English, German, Japanese. And then you save the import definition and you wait until TermStar suggests to use this import definition for the import. Okay, this is of course what we want. So we say continue, and for the source file encoding, it's always wise to choose Unicode, because with Unicode you're always on the safe side, because it can show all characters that there are. I go on, and now I just need to select the dictionary into which the whole terminology should be imported, and there I want my new empty dictionary here. I continue, and I have to select an option for the data handling during the import, and as the dictionary is empty, I can safely say that all data records should be added as new data records. There's nothing in the dictionary where I could create any duplicates. Okay. Again, I get a summary of everything that I've chosen. I can check everything here again, and I say finish. Now we saw it's a quite small list of terms, so this import is of course really fast. For a better overview, I'm going to close this other dictionary here that we have, and I'm going to open my new one. When I open a dictionary, I can add it as a project dictionary, which means it's then linked to my project, and I can add terminology from the project into the dictionary. Okay, it's here. Here the overview is quite good because there are not so many databases and dictionaries in here, but when you continue to work with Transit and TermStar for a longer time, this list here, or both lists here, could become quite long. So you can sort them alphabetically, either on clicking on dictionary, then the list is sorted by dictionary names, or you can click on database, and then you have all the database names in alphabetical order. And here we see that one dictionary that was open until a minute ago is already attached to the project as a project dictionary. Okay, I'm going to add this by saying OK, and it opens now. It looks good. We have English here, German here, and Japanese. Right. Now, I said there are several views that you can choose from, and each view consists of 3 different layouts. You have the left-hand layout, which regards this page here, the left page. Then we have a right-hand layout, which regards the right-hand side here. And we also have an edit mode layout, which opens when you double-click on an entry, and you can edit it, and that's why it's called the edit mode layout. Okay, when you press escape, the layout mode closes and you're on the left hand layout again. You can choose several displays for TermStar for dictionaries in the user preferences. We're going to have a quick look at that. TermStar menu, user preferences, and there's a TermStar section in here, a TermStar tab, where you can tell TermStar to display the dictionaries in a book frame, if the index buttons should be there, which additional languages should be displayed, and how they should be sorted, and also which, when you do fuzzy searches, which should be the minimum quality for that. Okay, I'm going to cancel this. And here you can see how the languages are displayed: source language and target language. These are this always matches the project languages of the project. Now, when you search for terms, TermStar always searches in the source language, because the source language is shown in alphabetical order. So, if you want to search for a term in one of the target languages, you have to swap languages and make that target language your current source language, which is easily done with this button here. Now you have reversed the order of the languages, and now German is source language, and you can search in the German language. We're going to do that later on, so you are going to see the details later on. What I'm now going to do is to enter terminology into my dictionary. You can either do that by via this tab here, processing, create, and then a new entry is created, or you just do a right-hand mouse click and choose new here. Then a new entry is created and already opened in layout mode. Okay, so we're now going to add some terms to our dictionary. For example, English chest is German Brust. Okay. And here we can say create next. Then the first one is saved and closed, and then we can add a new one. I'm going to add finger, and of course that's finger in English as well, and a new one. Schulterblatt is in English shoulder blade. And do we have another one? I've closed it. Okay. Now what do we want? We're going to enter Zeigefinger, which in English is index finger. And create next. There we want nose. Okay, I press escape, and when I press escape, the data record is saved when I click on yes and is added to the dictionary. Of course, we can always edit all the entries after we have created them. For example, I can now edit, for example, nose again, but for that I'm going to swap languages again so that English is our source language again. I'm going to, if you want to search for a term in a dictionary, you can just start typing. Okay, and then Transit jumps to the according entry. I can open the entry again and, for example, add a definition. Definition of nose. Mouth. Okay, now I have added a definition and I click on escape and say yes, I want to change, I want to save my changes. Then there is another possibility of entering terminology. It's the so-called rapid entry dialog. With the command rapid entry, we can either enter terms from our current language pairs or manually. So now we're going to change to our language pair, and I want to add something to the dictionary from this language pair. So I'm going to jump to the segment where I want to take some terminology from, and for example, I now want to add cholesterol level to my dictionary. So I highlight the terms, and I then go to terminology and say rapid entry, or I can also say insert selected, and then this is inserted into the now I've made a little mistake, user mistake, typical mistake, which I'm going to show you. This I wanted to do before, but I haven't done it, so this could happen during your daily work as well. You need to choose a current dictionary as soon as you have more than one dictionary in your project. We saw early on that there already was a dictionary added to the project, and that was the dictionary Fruit Terminology. I added the project dictionary body to the project, but I didn't choose it as current dictionary. But I told you that you need one dictionary where terminology that's entered from, or that's taken from the language pair from your current translation, where that's inserted in. And that's your current dictionary. It was now, or it still is at the moment, Fruit Terminology, but I want the dictionary to be written in my dictionary body. And so now I make this the current dictionary of the project. Okay. And here you can see you have all the entries of all TermStar project dictionaries together in one tab, and here you have only the dictionary body. Okay, so all the terminology I just entered, I entered into the dictionary fruit terminology. But I want the terminology that was just entered in the dictionary body. So I say insert selected again, and I'm told by TermStar, absolutely correctly, this data record exists in another dictionary. Create new data record? Yes, please, because I want it to be in the dictionary body. Now, of course, this is a bit superfluous to have the same entry in two dictionaries, and that's why I'm going to jump to the fruit terminology dictionary and delete it there. Here in the tab where you see all the project dictionaries, you can also see in which dictionary an entry is. Here we are in the dictionary body, and here we are in the dictionary fruit terminology. So I just click on the right hand mouse button and I say delete. Delete current data record. This is TermStar question. Yes. Okay. And now I only have the entry in the dictionary body. This window takes a bit longer to update, but it will also change eventually. Okay, let's do some more rapid entries. We go to processing, rapid entry, and here we can see what this window looks like. It's now orange up here because it's active. It's an active window now. We can choose again here the dictionary where we want to enter terminology into. And I'm going to enter some more terms. For example, elbow, save, and knee. And I again click on save. Right. Now I can close this window again by either clicking on the cross here or on cancel. So how do I edit existing entries? I'm going to look for the term chest, which is here. And as we saw earlier on, we just need to double click on the entry, then it opens and can be edited. And I now would like to add a second English term to chest, but at the moment there's no field to add a second English term. So now I need to go to this group here, type processing group language entry, and say I want language English, and I want another not another synonym, another term here. So I click on the green cross and I get another field for another English term. And I say another term for chest is thorax. So I add this here and I press on escape in order to save and close the entry. Okay. So as this new entry is also in the dictionary, it should be sorted alphabetically as well. So I'm just going to search the dictionary for it, and there it is. It's a separate entry, also listed alphabetically in my dictionary. And now I'm going to enter two different kinds of subentries. Remember that subentries are alphabetically listed as separate entries in the dictionary as well. At first, I'm going to add a disallowed term to the term nose. So I'm going to jump to nose, double click on the entry in order to be able to edit it, and add a disallowed term. Okay, so this is something I'm not supposed to use. I press escape and I save the changes. Yes. And here we can see at once, because it's a small dictionary, that the disallowed term is also listed alphabetically, but it's crossed out. And there, next to it, we find a link to the main entry, to the entry that we're supposed to use, and the link is in a green color, and as soon as we are on it, as we hover over it with the mouse, the arrow changes into a hand, and then we can click on it and get to the main entry. And that's a so-called cross-reference. Now I'm going to add another sub-entry to this term, shoulder blade here, an abbreviation, and I'm just going to call the abbreviation SB. I save it again via escape, and I'm going to look for SB in the dictionary, and there it is, SB, listed alphabetically and with a cross-reference to the main term shoulder blade. When I click on it with this hand symbol here, TermStar jumps to the main entry, shoulder blade. Okay. Now, as to searching for terminology in the dictionary, we have just seen that we can just start typing anything, and then the window search terms opens. Okay. And we can also search for certain terminology via filters. And I'm going to show you that. We go to View, to the group Data Record Filter, and we can see that the default filter that's switched on is all. So all the entries are shown that are in the dictionary. But now I can filter. For example, if I want to check my target language and perhaps add some terms to the dictionary, I can use the filter if target does not exist, and then TermStar shows me all the entries that belong to this filter. The search result is shown in a filtered view. And as soon as the target language is added to a term, this entry is no longer part of the search result. We see what happens when we add the German term for knee and save it. Okay. The entry knee disappears from this filter because it's not longer a result of this filter. Okay. So here you can try this yourself, and you can play around with different filters. One more that's perhaps interesting is the duplicates filter that shows you all the duplicates that are in the dictionary. And here at the moment we don't have any, so the window is empty. I switch it off by saying all. Okay. Now, when I search for a term via typing it, Then Transit searches for the expression, and it searches in an alphabetical order. So if I type thing, then Transit will find everything that starts with thing in the alphabetical list. Now, if I need to find all entries that contain a certain string, and not only at the beginning of a word or of the beginning of an entry, then I can use so-called operators, and I'm going to do this. For example, I can use this asterisk and type finger, asterisk again, and this asterisk, then this operator works as a wildcard. So TermStar will then find not only the terms that are listed alphabetically here, but everything that contains the string I'm looking for. So in this case, TermStar also finds index finger. And as soon as the operators are used, the search result is again shown as a filtered set. So again, here this works as a filter, but we can just type anything, and then we have the whole dictionary, all the entries again that are contained in the dictionary. Now I have shown you how to create a database, a dictionary, how to import terminology into a dictionary, how to add terminology, and how to search for terminology in the dictionary. So that's about everything for today. So thanks very much for today, and have a good day.